So I recently made a video on an electric mountain bike I received, and although it's been great, it has a big downfall, and that's the size of it. Fitting my mountain bike in and the electric bike in the boat has been a bit of a pain and takes up a lot of room. So when another company got in touch with me, Hitway, who wanted me to review a electric bike, I had one condition: it had to be a folding bike. Because I had already made a video on a electric mountain bike, I couldn't justify making another one, and I didn't have room for it. This is the last review I will make on a bike, but I really think this one is more appropriate for narrowboat life. So as you know, we live on a narrowboat, cruising in the canals of England and Wales, and it's a great way of life, but it has its negatives, like living in a house. You still need to work unless you're retired or have plenty of money, and unless you can work from the boat, you're going to need a car. So while cruising around the country, we have to lug a car around with us, which means each time we cruise, we have to go back and get the car. And if it's anything over 5 miles, walking can become a bit of a drag, but cycling is a much better alternative. We often cruise over 10 miles, but even that can be hard work on a manual bike. But an electric bike is a breeze. So this is the Hitway BK6, an electric pedal-assisted folding bike with 3 different power modes, along with 7 Shimano gears, mechanical disc brakes, massive 3-inch off-road tyres, a brake light, headlight, a backlit LCD display which displays the battery state of charge, a odometer, how long you've been riding the bike, a automatic trip, battery voltage, and even a speedo. It has pre-installed mudguards, suspension on the front, and even seat suspension, which makes a huge difference. Okay, now let's unbox it. Right, so here's the little box that our big bike comes in, but of course folded away. And here we go. Inside is our bike. As you can see, it's very well packaged. And this is the bike out, but there's a lot of stuff on it. Now we're going to take off first. I mean, a lot of protective stuff, so it's not going to get damaged in shipping whatsoever. This took me quite a while to do because there was loads on it. Well, what else did we get in the box? Well, here's the seat, which feels very comfy. Bike pump as well, which is really good. We get a quick guide manual, and we get a manual too. We get a charging block, and also a wire that plugs into the charging block to charge it. And we get another little box with our reflectors in here. And here's our pedals, and we get a handy little multi-tool set with a free bike lock, which is really cool. And here's a little guide to show you how to put it together, and this was very easy to follow, I have to say. First we begin by folding the handlebar mount up and locking it into place with a quick release, which is really cool. Then we actually put the handlebar into the tube, and obviously we can put this wherever we want with the quick release on here too, which is very handy. And then to actually fold the bike out, all we do is just pull the 2 sides together, and then in the middle we have this lock, and then there's also a safety lock on it as well, so it won't come undone. And then to put the seat on, we just undo this quick release, put the seat through the tube, and then we can decide where we want that as well. Then we have the reflectors, which come with lots of little nuts that you can put on with your multi-tool set. Not too sure why these don't come pre-installed, but they're easy enough to do anyway. Then we have our plastic pedals, unfortunately, which are easy enough to put on. And then you also have to mount your mudguards on too. Then all we do to charge, of course, is just plug it into the 240, plug it into the power block, and then plug it into this socket here onto the battery. To turn the battery on and off, you just turn the key, and once it's on, you can just power it up via just pushing the power button. But to take the battery out, you flip the seat up via this little lever, and then you just push the key in, and then you pull your battery out. As easy as that. Okay, let's take it for a test. Now, although I did bash foldable bikes in my previous video, calling them clown bikes, I still have that sentiment, but this is no ordinary foldable bike. It's beefed up. and is more like a foldable mountain bike, having absolutely no trouble with the humps, bumps and puddles, held by its front shock absorber, and you can't even feel the bumps with the seat absorber too. And with those pre-installed metal mudguards, you rarely get any mud on you whatsoever. And with that powerful 250 watt 32 Newton meter electric motor, it's easy to push through the thick mud. It's like a strong push, meaning you hardly have to even pedal. And when you do, you don't need to put much strength into it at all. Now we're on a quiet, mostly flat country lane. We can test out the top speed, which is stayed at 15.5 miles per hour. First I'll try a manual to see how fast I can get on my own, then assist 1 and assist 3. So here's the first test on manual, which as you can see is quite slow for me to actually get to any sort of speed. But although I can get to, the same sort of speeds that the motor can get you to, it's not about that, it's about the acceleration. As you'll see, it is a lot quicker when I'm on mode 1 here. Not by much, of course, it's mode 1, but the acceleration, as you see, is a lot greater. So I can gain speed a lot quicker, and I got to about 12 miles per hour on mode 1. And here we go on mode 3. As you can see, it is a lot quicker to get to top speed, and I actually managed to get to about 16 miles per hour, which was pretty good. As you can see, 15.5 miles per hour was the max. This is because the electric bikes are not allowed to go above this speed, so it doesn't help me push above that speed. But as you can see, the acceleration is really where these bikes stand out to a manual bike. You can start off in 7th gear, and as soon as the bike detects you're pushing on the pedal, it'll help you out. The higher the mode, the greater the assist. Mode 1 keeps you at around 9 miles per hour, mode 2 is around 12 miles per hour, and mode 3 is around 15.5. If you're lighter than me, the acceleration would be greater. As soon as you stop cycling, the motor turns off, so it's super safe and you don't ever feel like you're going to fall off, Of course, when it comes to cycling, the hardest thing is hills. Most of the time I just have to get off the bike and walk it up, but not on this bike. I just tap it into full assist mode and fly up the hill. Now obviously this bike isn't going to get you up Everest, but it's good to go up gradients as high as 25 degrees. As you can see, I couldn't even manage this hill on manual mode, but with full assist on I easily got up the hill. Although I do have to say that I did have to put a good amount of effort into getting up the hill as well with full assist on, and my knees were aching a little bit. Now we'll test the opposite, going downhill. It's time to test the brakes. First we'll test it on the flat. I was going top speed there at 15.5 miles per hour and I stopped almost immediately. Now down a very steep hill. As you can see, the brakes are very impressive. Not an immediate stop, but not far from it. And I even left a tyre mark here. So I'm very happy with the performance of these brakes. Now the main reason we have bikes is to, of course, retrieve the car when we cruise. But with the massive 25-inch wheel mountain bike that I reviewed previously, we struggled to fit it in the car with my manual Carrera. But the foldable capabilities of this bike mean it's much easier and takes up a lot less room. And folding it is super easy too. I like cycling bikes for the exercise, but Mum finds cycling hard work and is not too bothered about exercise. So the bike is perfect for her, just a little assist with the hard parts of the typical cycle rides we go on. She flew up that hill. Now the big one, the range. It has a 12 amp hour lithium battery at a voltage of 36 volts. That is stated at 55 miles range. But to really give this a test, I went on the longest cycle ride I've ever been on. We had to cruise through Birmingham from Hotwood to Stourbridge in 2 days, as Dad only gets 3 days off a week. Day 1, I dropped the car ahead to Stourbridge and cycled back to Hotwood, taking a few shortcuts. The cycle would be about 25 miles, which I probably couldn't have done on a manual bike, mostly because the seat was so uncomfortable on it. But this seat is the most comfortable bike seat I've ever been on. I began the cycle in full assist mode as I had a big hill to go up, the Stourbridge log flight, which it did tremendously well, and I didn't even break a sweat. I then took some shortcuts along roads before reaching the more intense Downfootlock flight. Let's see if I can get up there without breaking a sweat. Here we go. Maximum assist on, and then 4th gear. Drop it down a bit. Thank you. Got sweat dripping down my nose. Once you lose your momentum, that's it. But it's a lot easier than cycling up manually, I'll tell you that. I'm in 3rd gear, full maximum power. So, yeah, not so good on the hills, but I do weigh a lot. So, here we go. Last one. I then made my way to Neverton Tunnel with ease. At first I was worried about the tunnel, but it had 2 towpaths, so I chose the quieter side and engaged the powerful headlight by holding down the plus button, which also enables the taillight, and the headlight was surprisingly powerful. I cycled through the tunnel at about 5 miles per hour in manual mode, as there wasn't a lot of wiggle room, so I had to be careful. And plenty of big potholes in there too. And finally I reached the other end of the tunnel and flew along the new mainline canal in full assist mode bound for Birmingham. But when I got there, the bike disappointingly went down to 1 bar, and with 8 miles left I was a little worried, so I made sure I stayed in assist level 1 the rest of the way. But when I got to Selly Oak, the battery went on 0 bars. It was effectively on reserve power, and at this point the bike had done about 25 miles since the last charge. I still had 5 miles to go, and cycling manually I could just manage about 7 miles per hour, but it was a killer on my knees, as the bike was almost double the weight of my Carrera at 14 kilograms, this bike being 24.5. But there's a couple of reasons why the battery did not last as expected. One being my weight. That range was tested with a 75 kilogram person. I'm 25 kilograms heavier at 100 kilograms. Also, that is probably just on assist 1. I was on assist 3 most of the way and climbing up some steep hills, really pushing the motor. I don't think many people will be doing more than 25 miles on this bike anyway, and if I had topped it up after I last used it, I probably would have been alright. I then had to push the bike over the top of the Wast Hill Tunnel, which was quite hard work. Although the battery was dead, it still powered the display, which was really good, and at some point I did actually get an error message, which was error 06, and meant that the battery was under voltage. I highly recommend not doing this because you might damage the lithium battery. I managed to coast down the hill of the other side of the tunnel and made it back to the boat. 27.5 miles total, as I had to go back and get the phone when I was recording the clips of me cycling. Now the downsides, the biggest as usual with these electric bikes, is the weight. The battery also weighs about 6 pounds or 3 kilograms, which is fine when of course you have power, but the minute you run out, man, it's hard work. It's also a big problem when you need to push it up a hill or lift it up or downstairs. It's okay for me, but for Mum it's far too heavy. The range was also very disappointing, but shouldn't ever affect me again really. Then there's the wheels. I did almost fall off twice because the only problem with the folding bikes are the wheels, and they're too small sometimes, and now obviously there's no way around this as part of a foldable bike. But what I found was that the wheels easily lose traction, resulting in me almost falling off twice. But apart from that, we are over the moon with this bike. It's amazing value for money. I see plenty of bikes that are, more than double the price, and you get everything you need with this bike. Quick release seat, quick release handlebar, super comfy seat with suspension, massive thick tyres, headlight and taillight / brake light, backlit LCD with loads of features, and so much more. Don't go for a basic folding bike, as it's just not capable of dealing with the canal towpaths, or much more than tarmac really. This bike is perfect for narrowboat life. Even if you don't have a car, you still need to, cycle to the shops or pick up a prescription. And if you're not interested in the exercise or manual cycling, need something to get you from A to B with no effort, this bike takes all the work out of cycling. Thanks for watching everyone. Don't forget to check out the link in the description to pick up your own Hitway BK6 bike today. And don't forget to use my coupon code for £30 off, which is Josh30.